Welcome to Living Fuel TV. This is Casey Krejci. It's that time again, back to school. You made great preparations with regard to clothes and books and all kinds of things, and many of you probably even have gone the immunization route. Now, I do not recommend that route, but this show is not about that. So this is what can we do to avoid our kids or to minimize our kids getting sick and making it through this the early days of back to school. See, school is a human petri dish. You basically get all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of travels coming together in close contact, and this is when most of the kids end up getting sick this season, leading into cold and flu season, which is yet another round of this kind of things going on. So what can we do to minimize sickness even though we're in an environment of sickness? Now, bear in mind there's always germs, there's always viruses, but you're not always sick. So having a strong immune system is very important. So there are three things that we can do to minimize the possibility of us getting sick, and if we do get sick, to minimize the duration of that sickness. So the first thing I want to mention to you are sugars and carbohydrates. Sugars and carbohydrates essentially do the same thing in the body. And we've all known that sugar, we've heard many times, sugar reduces immunity. But how is that? How does that happen? Well, first let me tell you that sugar and, say, pizza end up the same way in the body. They both turn to sugar and cause the same kinds of issues. So how does it reduce immunity? Basically, when you eat sugar, or let's just say you sit down to a 100-gram carbohydrate meal, that could be a pizza meal, a pasta meal, something along those lines, and maybe a sweet drink, and you well exceeded the 100 grams of carbohydrates. The research suggests that it drops immunity by 90% by what's called the leukocytic index. Leukocytic index is how many bad guys a white blood cell can consume in an hour. And so the leukocytic index should be around 16, but within 15 minutes after a high carbohydrate meal, that index can drop by 90% to about 1.6 to 1.9. So it is a big time suppression of immunity, which can last for hours. So if you're in an area when you have eaten a large amount of carbohydrates or sugars or sweet drinks or any of those things, and you've dropped your immunity 90%, and then you come in contact with a bad virus or bacteria or whatever the case may be, you're very susceptible to picking it up at that point. So bear in mind, minimize your sugars and your white carbohydrates. If it's white, it ain't right. So number two, maintain optimal vitamin D levels. How do you do that? Well, staying in the sun reasonable amounts of time without getting scorched is a great way and the cheapest way to do that, because your body will convert vitamin D. And vitamin D, people with highest vitamin D levels are sick the least. So also taking vitamin D supplements, eating cod liver oil, things along those lines, vitamin D fortified foods. These are ways to get vitamin D. Now, if you ever have your blood levels checked, which I suggest you should do that at least twice a year, you want your vitamin D levels to be somewhere in the 50 to 80 range. So keep that in mind. So vitamin D is extremely important. All of you listening, not just for your kids. So thirdly, we'll say a good diet. A clean diet seems obvious, but eating a clean diet with fruits and vegetables, mostly vegetables, and clean meats is a very good way to maintain optimal immunity. So I hope this was helpful to you. God bless you and have a great day.